What's up guys, Chris here, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at my launch day account. We just hit a huge milestone with the anniversary here. 1 million total Visiore spent. Money, money, money. That's right, you didn't know you're getting rickrolled by Abo when you clicked on this video, did ya? So I decided let's do an account review here at the 2-year anniversary. It actually was right over 1 million at the beginning of the anniversary, but the Visiore buyback banner overshot us a bunch, so that's what you're seeing here. As we've done in the past with account review videos, I'm going to focus on takeaways, tips, tricks, mistakes, and lessons learned rather than just, hey, look at all my cool stuff, like that kid in the 2nd grade that had the Death Star Lego set that we were all jealous about. Where are you now, Kevin? Where are you now? If you're wondering, no, this account is not free to play, but just for frame of reference, Royal Rank 7, and I will mention that it is under $10 per month since launch for those of you who want to do the math. Those of you who have asked me why I don't have 3 times speed on, you can finally tuck that one away with your Visiore encrusted monocle and cane. If you guys like the video, morph into your Esper form, attack that thumbs up and red button below. Appreciate y'all jumping in. The first thing we're going to look at is the units, and we have 28 units at level 120 and another 21 URs at level 99, 10 of which I have the Mind Spheres to go up to 120, but like most people, the limiting factor for upgrading more units is Blossoms of Paradise. So tip number 1, and this one's simple, make sure you pick up Blossoms of Paradise whenever and wherever you can. This may seem obvious, but sometimes players might forget to pick up all of the free ones each month. So let's do a quick reminder. The easy ones are from the event shops and raid shops found in the Mog shop. These can usually be found for about 10,000 event coins, and usually if you're farming the equipment, you'll have those coins anyway, so that's the first thing I would pick up from those shops. The Guild Metal shop also offers one per month, so don't forget about that one. Be on the lookout for Visiore packs that you can buy in the store that offer cheap blossoms. These don't come around very often, but every now and then you can pick up blossoms in packages for free Visiore. I mentioned this in my anniversary guide, but I think the cutoff for me personally is somewhere right around 500 free Visiore per blossom for budget players. Anything more than that feels just a little bit pricey. Next up, we have summoning, and I really wish I had taken advantage of the 9 steps while the going was good. The 9 steps used to be great, like MTV in the 90s. You could pick up 6 blossoms per 9 step, and they used to count towards pitying the unit with medals. Alas, these days are mostly gone. However, we did get this system back for the Final Fantasy VI units for the anniversary, so let's hope that this sticks around. Remember that sometimes you can get blossoms as summon bonuses also, either directly or you can pick them up for summon medals in the Mog shop. I would say these probably take top priority over unit shards or rainbow yarn balls for free to play. Shards you can get through patience in the guild barracks in the shop. Blossoms you can not. Lastly, many players completely forget or overlook that you can get 2 blossoms per month in the elemental outcrest chambers and brutal difficulty job chambers. These are really low-hanging fruit, but many players forget about them with so much else going on in the game. So that's just a friendly reminder on where to pick up extra blossoms that some players might overlook. Moving back to units, the last couple of weeks I've been doing my fantasy baseball research and drafts, and I'm a huge fantasy baseball guy, I know, but one of the things that's talked about in fantasy sports often is finding value at every position. And in my head I thought, this is kind of similar to how the elements work in War of the Visions. You want to make sure that each element is strong enough for PvE content while not investing too much that you hamper your number 1 element or leave it behind. And some of you might think this sounds kind of ridiculous, but if you truly are free to play or a budget player, this struggle can be very real. So one of the natural evolutions you will take on your account over time, especially now with the elemental bonus missions, selection quests, tower, is to build up all of your different elements. But keep in mind there's a difference here between PvP and PvE. So let's talk about that for a second. For PvP, I think most free-to-play should still focus on one single element and maybe a second element. In this case, vision cards will be far more important than units, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. In PvP, if you're free to play, you likely won't have the bandwidth for multiple elements, so it's best to focus on having a quote meta team for a single element and constantly be picking up the best units and vision cards for that element. This is because it will always allow you to flex into the best physical attack, magic attack, support, ranged, slash, or whatever you need for the changing PvP meta. You can see that I've done that here for Wind. And no, please don't mention I don't have Joom, hashtag blame Dr. Diggs, hashtag Moltroll. For PvE, it's a whole different story. You basically just need to field 3 or more decent units for each element for most of these elemental missions. And a lot of times you don't even need top tier units for PvE, but it's a good idea to build any 100 cost units you might pull along the way, regardless of their element. The last thing to note here is that if you've been playing long enough, you'll likely be able to branch out to 1 or maybe even 2 other elements for top level PvP. My experience would tell me that every 8 months or so, give or take a little bit, will allow you to field another element for competitive PvP, accounting for vision cards and units. The bottom line is this is probably a time or money thing, so don't try to spread out too thin too early with your account. This is generally more important for weekly arena as it allows you to continue win streaks, counter certain elements to climb faster while also using the bonus units. Usually this only takes 2 good units in an element and maybe 3 or 4 vision cards to pull off because you can slot in bonus units and cards for that week, as you can see here with my fire team using King Mont and Glaciella Regalia. In general, though, this is going to depend a lot more on your vision cards than the units. And if you guys have been following the channel for a while, you'll know that I've been all over vision cards like Dweeby Brits on Adam Driver.
Crush my larynx, you unwieldy boulder.
Vision cards are what make and break teams, and you can make even trash tier units viable when you stack up vision cards for a single element, which I've showcased before in my PvP videos of units like Yerma and Uldoa succeeding in top level PvP. With dual vision cards, this is even more important. It's probably best to only consider an element competitive if you have at least 3 or 4 element specific vision cards, but you can fill in a ton of gaps using the OG vision cards before they transitioned over to the element specific cards, so do not underestimate how much these oldies can help your account broadly across all elements. This includes cards like Ifrit, Ramu, Clairvoyant Astrologer, Fenrir, Odin, Blossoms in the Dark, Maraga, Shiva, and Scion of House Beowulf. Oh, oops, sorry, didn't mean to bring out all the jealousy in the comments section for this last one. I spent the better part of year 2 focusing just on vision cards. Legitimately, the only units I chased on banner were 2B, Final Fantasy VII, Winter Luartha, and More the Merrier. For you kids at home, that's just 6 units in 12 months. But this is all the while I piled on vision cards, I worked on the units that came to me, and after 2 years of playing War of the Visions, I can confidently say that the secret sauce is in the vision cards. Let me repeat that. Vision cards are more important than units. It's important to remember that. And the second secret sauce is in gear, particularly UR gear that you get from raids and Trials of Reckoning. Now this partially changes with the addition of Trust Stones to the TMR gear, and we will have a video covering that soon, but most of the best gear in the game is still gotten from raids and Trials of Reckoning. The Survival Coat, Brigandine, Knight Armor, Soul of Thamasa, Galmia Coat, Ribbon, Winter Coat, Ninja Garb, Wind Spear, Alexandrite Ring. These are all gear that almost everyone in top PvP is running and that you'll likely need to complete Nightmare difficulty quests. And sure, there are suitable MR replacements for all of these, but when it comes right down to it, raid gear is the tops in the game, which basically is a really long-winded way of saying do not neglect raids. When you're looking at potential units or vision cards to build up, you should always have raids in the back of your mind. Abilities that imperil elements or attack types, reduce defense, spirit, or reduce single target resistance. These may not be super valuable in PvP, but they are invaluable for PvE. Similarly, vision card abilities like max damage limit and activation time may not get a lot of notice, but these cards can help immensely for raids. Lastly, I wanted to quickly bring up a question I've seen a lot of recently, which is how much you should be investing in your MR units as free to play, and what MR units are worth taking all the way to 120. I can answer this pretty simply. For free to play, almost no MR unit is worth the Blossoms of Paradise right now. They're just too valuable of a resource, and UR units, even the worst ones, are generally better than even the best MR units. And also, absolutely in no circumstance should you be spending Visiore to get MR unit shards. Just wanted to make sure that was very clear up front. Selection quests are the only place these MR units will give you true value for your account, and it's nice because you can farm elemental awakening materials each month, but it's also not quite worth the trade-off until they add blossoms that work specifically on MR units. Now, the exception, notice that I said almost every MR unit isn't worth it. I do think there's a, quote, big four that are no-brainers. Those are the ones that you see here: Fina, Mont, Shadow Lynx, and Silma. Fina at 120 is a great healer for PvE content and things like Tower. MR Mont, he's a suitable, if not unspectacular, physical tank, and you can actually still use him in PvP, especially if you run Earth. Shadow Lynx, with the advent of evasion gear and trust stones, she's a true evasion unit, so she can actually solo a lot of PvE content using just a basic evasion build. Silma, similar to Fina with support, but she does have a little more damage in her kit, but she's also easier to build since they give all of her shards away to 120 her. The last thing I will say on this is that if you really are bent about completing these selection quests, you could probably get away with just having a single 120 MR unit for each element, like I've done here with Lilith, and that should be probably enough to carry you through stage 10 for most elements if you have solid vision cards and gear. Units off the top of my head that I'd probably nominate include the tanks like Dario, Ravies, and Nasha, or maybe some of the damage units like Seymour or Krace. Oh, and of course Gafgarian and Mustadio. Yeah, let me just twist that knife a little bit more. Anyway, that's all, folks. Let me know in the comments section below how much total Visiore you're at on your account right now, and how long you've been playing. I'd love to hear about your biggest mistakes or best choices you think you've made on your account in the first 2 years. Happy 2-year anniversary, War of the Visions. We will catch you next time.